Welcome to the Recovered Life Show. You're tuned in to a new episode of Recovery This Week with your hosts, Damon Frank and Shauna McKenna Vick.
It's Recovery This Week. I'm Damon Frank.
And I'm Shauna McKenna Vick.
You're with us today, Shauna. Hello.
So sorry about last week. Something came up and just was unable to attend, and I missed it. I really missed it. So I was ready this morning, 2 hours ago. I'm texting you, hey, can we get on Recovered Life?
Exactly.
And I was ready.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. I'm so glad that we're doing this week. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I know I'm tired as hell.
Are you? I rested a lot. I will say I rested a lot, but I feel a bit tired coming off. I worked about 35 days straight and then went into Thanksgiving. So rested a lot on Thanksgiving, but now, getting back to work and everything's, coming together. So I have to say, the end of the year, we tend to get a little more tired and, looking at the day is shorter and the light's not that great, and then the cool weather starts coming. So yeah, I think that being a little tired is okay. Why are you so tired?
I'll tell you why. And for those of you that have been watching the show, that have been joining us on TikTok, we did a whole series. I did a whole series of live streams on TikTok, #family detox, after Thanksgiving. And we had a great Thanksgiving, and I love my family and they were great. And we hosted this year, but I'll tell you, after you deal with personalities, it's a lot. And we had a lot of people and we have a smaller home. And so it was like weeks before decorating, getting ready, the menu, setting up the tables, all that stuff. It's just a lot of work, Shauna. And, at the end, it's like, everybody's like, oh, like everything's, all the expectations are always crammed into that one, event. And I try to kind of de-escalate that because I found in sobriety that that's not great.
No,
like,
expectations
not
are
to do
not
that.
good. No.
Yeah.
Expectations really, there are resentments waiting to happen, and there's disappointment that comes along with them. And you think you want, this Norman Rockwell family Thanksgiving or event. And in reality, that is just a painting. That is just fiction, because we all have different personalities. We all have family system stuff going on, and it just doesn't turn out that way. Not that it turns out bad, but there's, when you have a lot of people in the same room with a lot of relationships, a lot of history, there can be baggage and there can be a lot of great things too. But it is, working, alongside a lot of families at this time of year, I hear a lot of many challenges.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's why I want to do something about, I wanted to do an episode on practicing gratitude because, and that's really the theme of the show today, because I thought, what better than to, have a powwow with you about how to do this, how to practice gratitude, how to actually, do it, because I forget. I don't know about you. I forget to be grateful. And even in Thanksgiving, I was like, okay, like I want to get this going. I want to get right. I want to get what I want to get. And then I forget about being grateful for what I have. Right. I'm sure I'm the only one in the recovery community that has that problem.
Oh yeah. I'm sure you're the only one. I love that you've made practicing gratitude our focus today, because everybody thinks about Thanksgiving and people sit around their table all together and people may say what they're grateful for. But as it's a practice. It's like meditation is a practice. Practicing gratitude is really important. And I'm not as not well versed. My practice of regular gratitude or writing out a gratitude list, I don't do one, Damon. I have a jar and I have these little cards that say gratitude on them and prayers. And so I write that. It's like a God jar, and I I'll put what I'm grateful for. But the interesting thing is I moved it in my kitchen. I don't think I've written on a card in months because it's on a different counter now instead of right on the kitchen island. So I'm going to move it back. But I get one of my friends sends me her gratitude list every day. And it's really made me think, how can I enhance or establish a more intentional gratitude practice? I do wake up every day before I get out of bed or open my eyes. I say, thank you, God. I'm so grateful to be sober. Thank you for keeping me sober and help me to stay sober another day. I'm so grateful to be sober. So that is the absolute first thing I do. So at least I get one bit of gratitude in, and I do recognize that we don't use shoulds, but having a more intentional gratitude practice would probably benefit me tremendously.
Well, I've talked a little bit today about how do we determine what to be grateful for. Interrupt. Like, how do we determine what to be grateful for, and how, as alcoholics, do we just forget about where we came from? And what a better resource to go to than TikTok to find every answer of life, right? So I want to add this video real quick to the stage.
Remember to be grateful.
And I will start it over, Shauna.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we have it here. Let me just see.
I have to laugh about the TikTok. I had a client that told her mom, Shauna's TikTok famous. She must have seen one of the TikToks we did or something you've posted. You're so good about being on TikTok.
It's so funny. I love it. And for those of you guys, join us at 5:00. We're all the way through the holidays, 5:00 Pacific. I am on TikTok answering questions. We've had a lot of people go into treatment over the last week, which has been really cool. I want you to see this video though, because I saw it and I was like, oh man, I need to practice better gratitude.
It's a good thing.
Let me start it.
Esty, remember to be grateful that you are alive. It's a good thing that you're alive. We are not out here wishing we weren't here. I've been through that. I've done that. Been there, done that. Decided that life is worth living because it's beautiful. Just like you. Go out there today and enjoy your life because life really is a gift. I tried to take it from myself a couple times. Don't be like me. Be like the me that's growing and enjoy and love your life. Okay. Esty,
I just love that. I just
That's
absolutely
beautiful.
love that one. Yeah, I love it because you know what? It reminds me, Shauna, of I get over my skis a lot in recovery where forget about the basics sometimes. That I'm here, I'm alive, I escaped. We were talking the other day on TikTok about how the doctor's opinion in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, how Dr. Silkworth basically says there is no hope. If you are an alcoholic, that's it. It's basically a death sentence. There's no hope. But there are these people who've seemed to escape it, and I don't know why this is, right? Basically to do a shorthand on that chapter. And I forget the basics of it. Hey, we escaped something that was going to take us out.
Well, when you think of it like that, I don't often go back to how horrible it was. It maybe brings up a little shame, some guilt, but I've had to, share my story with some new clients, and I can really connect and say, I know how you're feeling, and there is a way out. And when I look back at where I was and where I was headed, yes, I'm incredibly grateful that the miracle happened for me and I found sobriety through, and I've shared this with you before, it's through, for me, the 12 steps is what helped me to get and stay sober, and treatment. Don't get me wrong. I went to a lot of treatment, and I continue to work with a therapist and a psychiatrist, and I take care of myself, but, definitely grateful not to be back in the depths of, I was sharing yesterday with a potential client, just that I always made sure I had something hidden away in the bathroom so I could have something to wake up to take the edge off. I don't live like that anymore. When I would start the day in a fog or a haze, and it would be over before it started because I would just continue to drink. And how I squandered the time that I could have been useful and had a happier life like I do now, and my energy's a little low. There's stuff going on with my daughter, and practicing gratitude can help lift you out of some low points too, and change the mood. We were going to talk a bit about how scientifically it actually saying 5 things you're grateful for. I am grateful for this, and feeling it, saying 5 things you're grateful for actually changes the neurotransmitters in your brain, and you can change your mood.
Mm-hmm.
You can change.
This is it. And I'm going to tell you, they talk a lot about gratitude as a superpower. I definitely believe it. And I'll tell you, we talk a lot about, I forget sometimes that being an alcoholic and being addicted to drugs means that you're not okay in the here and now. That whatever's happening in the here and now is just so unacceptable, Shauna. It's just so, like, we were talking about that the other night on TikTok. Like, it's so unacceptable that we must leave the here and now. We must check out of the here and now. And I think gratitude brings us right into the here and now. And I do think it is one of those superpower things. Now, I've never been one of these send the gratitude list things. They drive me a little bit crazy. But the reality is it works, right? What I think about it or not, it works. And I dove into this in my recovery. I will tell you about the mindset, because it's a lot about emotional sobriety, just changing your mindset of how you think. The mindset about gratitude, what it actually does to you spiritually, physically, emotionally, and overall, how does it keep the quality of our sobriety sober, right? Like, so I've found when that is practiced, something like you were just talking about, something is activated where I feel different.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say something's activated where I feel different, because isn't that why we took a drink or a drug? It was to feel different or to do anything. Some people it's eating, some, I do it with my screen, do some doom scrolling because I want to feel different. I want to get out of my head. And the fact that using gratitude as a practice can actually help you feel differently. This is a really positive thing we can do for ourselves in recovery.
It is. It really is, because I want to dive in here about how to actually get there, right? Because I think this is one of the things where we get a little bit confused, I think, in recovery, because we try to make something very, very complicated. At least I do. If there's an easy road and a complicated road, I am going to take the complicated road, Shauna. I just am. Like, I'm just
and
one,
set
I'm
ourselves
one of those
up
people.
For failure instead of doing it the simple way, and then we can be like, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do it perfectly. So I'm going to scrap that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, when we come back, we're going to take a really brief break. And guys, if you are not at Recovered Life TV, please join us there. Please join us there. But when we come back, I want to tease this a little bit here, Shauna. When we come back from this very brief break, I want to really dive into some stuff I found early on in sobriety with people who are not sober that really have made a practice about gratitude. And I'm going to download some stuff and show some stuff here on video that's going to blow people's mind if they want to take the whole gratitude thing to the next level. So when we come right back,
I'm looking forward
we're going
to
jump right into that. Okay.
It's a great teaser. Okay.
Guys, join recoveredlife.tv. We're going to be right back after this quick break.
Step out of the shadows into the light. Find your tomorrow, start the fight. Recovered Life TV, see the change. Living your best life, it's within reach. Visit recoveredlife.tv today.
You're listening to The Recovered Life Show, the show that helps people in recovery live their best recovered lives.
And we're back with Recovery This Week. We're talking about, you got it, practicing gratitude in our recovery. Shauna, we were talking right before the break about there is kind of a science to this. And they're finding this, I'm going to use the word metaphysical, okay? I'm going to use the word metaphysical. They're finding this metaphysical science to this, that gratitude, not only what we think about what's going to happen, like, yeah, it's good. I'm a good person if I practice gratitude, right? There's that level of it, or I just should do it because everybody says I should do it. But there's actually a scientific thing going and spiritual thing going on with people who practice gratitude. And I don't know if you're familiar with this guy, is Dr. Reverend Beckwith from the Agape Spiritual. Most people know him through, they know him through The Secret, which, you know, I think is dicey sometimes for alcoholics in recovery in the early sobriety. It's a little bit of like, you know, we don't want to do the magical thinking. But I found this video that I had watched some time ago, and he'd redone it, and I'm going to bring it to the stage here, and for the people listening on the podcast, you'll be able to hear it. But I want to break down this video, and you tell me your thoughts on this. And
I haven't seen it, so I'll be able to give you my thoughts for sure.
Gratitude expands our perception. It's like if we're focused and worried about something in our life, then all of our attention is going towards a possible worst case scenario. And we experience that biologically, chemically. So if we shift our attention and go to one little, it doesn't have to be monumental, one thing to be grateful for, our perception begins to expand. So it begins with finding one thing. And then something begins to happen, and you're able to take your attention away from the thing, and you're in a field of gratitude. It doesn't have to be about anything. You're just in this field. That's a higher state of consciousness. Yeah. And then when you're in this field, I don't know if people have ever experienced this, but I know that my mother would sometimes say, not to me, but to my brothers, if you don't stop crying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Well, the law works like this. If you don't stop being grateful, then the law will vibrationally match and give you more and more to be grateful for.
Give you something to be grateful for.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the beginning, you find something to be grateful for, and then you grow into just being in gratitude. Yeah. It doesn't have to have an object at all. Yeah. It's a very mature state of gratitude. You wake up, you become grateful. You go through traffic, grateful you got a car. Mm-hmm. You know, you're in line, you're grateful you're in the supermarket line, you can buy some food, whatever it is. Yeah. Then after a while, you're just in a state.
You use it as a cue to direct you into this place of gratitude.
Right.
You know, quantum science is showing us that it's a vibrational field, and this, when it comes to healing, is so paramount because we have to realize that there's a vibrational radio station that we can dial into where healing happens, and a different radio station that we can dial into where healing does not happen.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? And is that not recovery right there? Is that not recovery?
It is. It is. You're dialed into a different state. We call it the fourth dimension, right? That we're living in the fourth dimension in a different spiritual state. That was eye-opening for sure. I think, you know, it might be hard for some to digest that we're actually, you know, have a vibrational field or whatever. And when she said quantum science is showing this, I'd like to hear more about that for sure. I'll have to dig that out, about the vibrational field. I'm really curious. It's made me very curious about it.
Well, I will tell you, over my journey here, I have changed my opinion about some things in sobriety. Mm-hmm. And one of them is I firmly believe now that sobriety is a consciousness. And one of the things that, and you see this time and time again, you see this every day, is that people are trying to get in, they're trying to get sobriety. It's elusive to them. But then once we have it, we're swept up in it, right? And now we are sober. Now we've regained sobriety, right? And there is a shifting. And just like I think, which was so perceptive. I mean, when you think about this, it was written, from data in the 20s and teens and 30s, with the doctor's opinion in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. There is these people that there's a mindset shift. And I believe that sobriety is a consciousness. And that is why we say things like stay in the middle of the pack. Don't go too far, right? Be of service, be around newcomers, be around people who have it, because you can catch it. You can catch the consciousness.
Well, and if we're all trying to be of service to one another, and we're showing up with patience and tolerance and love and kindness, and we're putting all of these things out into the universe, or out into the universe, that we're showing up and we're adding to this, and we're met with others showing up, how can it not create this field of energy, or this field of this consciousness that you're saying we're all feeding in, we're all feeding the good in, and the good will grow.
Yeah. Well, he was saying one of the things that I got out of this, and I saw this again, and I'd seen this years ago, and then he regave this talk, and, thank you to the Health Network who put this out. It was really great. I think it's a really great resource. And I found that a lot of spiritual stuff, a lot of times people maybe will believe in God. They'll go to a 12-step program. They'll become more spiritual or religious. And, we have to ask ourselves, where did those 12-step programs get all of this, right? Well, they got it from other people, and they put it together in what I call like a technology, if you will, that people could tap into spiritual to be able to get this transformation. But it's interesting when he talks about the consciousness of it, about gratitude, people attract more things to be grateful for, as opposed to, and this is such early sobriety or later sobriety where I'm not getting what I want. How do I get it and protect it? How do I change these people? How do I get these people to do this? How do I get this? How do I purchase that? Right? It's all about that, which is not a gratitude mindset, but that people who live in this constant state of gratitude attract more gratitude. The universe brings them more gratitude, as opposed
brings them more
to
things to be grateful for, right?
Absolutely. Like how many times in our sobriety, and I will tell you this week, big time, where I said, things aren't working the way that I want them to. How come people aren't doing this? Right. You know what I mean? Like constantly. And this is, 31 years into it. I struggle sometimes with having the right mindset. I'm good a lot of the times, but it's tough. I mean, how do you do it, Shauna? Like, how do you flip to that gratitude mindset?
Well, I think, as I said, before I roll out of bed, it's the number one thing I'm grateful for is my sobriety. And I recognize that it comes from my higher power. I'm grateful that God kept me sober. I did the work, and, I took the action, and God gave me the results of being able to stay sober. How do I stay in the gratitude mindset? Well, I have a very strong spiritual practice for myself. I get up every day, and the first thing I do is I spend time in prayer and meditation. And it's, and I'll go through times. And like I said, I don't have a physical gratitude practice, but there are many prayers I say that are based in gratitude. So I do some of the Psalms. I do some of the religious texts from my my own religion, and there's a lot of gratitude in the Bible, in the Psalms, and so I am doing that. But in my own life, I'm just trying to figure out how I got away from actually writing out or saying 5 things or 10 things that I'm grateful for. I used to have a trick that would help me get to sleep, Damon, and it was to start saying things I'm grateful for with the alphabet. So I'm laying there and something I'm grateful for that starts with A, something I'm grateful for that starts with B. And that really helped me, and it helped me to fall asleep. I never got past G, I don't think, before I fell asleep. And, so I did things in early recovery to stay in that gratitude mindset. And I do it throughout the day. I thank God that I found a parking space. I think, I do have that conscious contact with my higher power throughout the day when I say, I'm really grateful that this happened, or thank you for this, and recognizing that I'm not in control here. I do not have the power to do this. I can take the action for my own life, but there's a plan for my life. I take the action, and I'm grateful for what I have. And I'm also grateful for the suffering, Damon, because, people will be like, how can you find any gratitude in that? Well, any challenges I get or have or go through, I recognize that it's an opportunity for growth for me to really rely on my higher power for peace, direction, guidance. And so I have found joy in the suffering, or gratitude in the suffering, for having the opportunity to grow closer to my higher power.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you say that you struggle with it and you're trying to figure out, how did I lose this in my recovery practice, right? And it was funny because we were in one of these TikTok chats, and somebody was saying, oh, now that you have a lot of time and stuff like that. And they were referring to the family episode we did a couple weeks ago about family not supporting. They said, yeah, it's easy for you guys because you have a lot of time. And I was like, sometimes it's not easier. Sometimes it's tougher, because if we've lived sober, not practicing some of the things, we'll just I'm going to stay sober, right? I'm going to I'll be able to get by. And I like that you share that you're human, that just because you're out saving people and doing that day to day, that if you have time, it's not a magic elixir for, that all of a sudden everything in recovery is going to be fixed for you.
Right. Now, I want to go back to something you said, because it sounds like, the longer you have, and I don't want people to misinterpret, the longer you have and you get away from some of these practices and you just say, I'm going to live, or I'm going to be fine. I know for you and for me, we continue to work our programs of recovery. And so it's just like life, where it's undulating, right? So I might meditate more. I might go to more meetings. I might speak with sponsees more. Whatever it is, it's not that we've gone completely away from our programs and we're just resting on our laurels and we can stay sober like that, because we can't. I can't stay sober without practicing my program of recovery. So there are some weaker links and there are some stronger links. And so, yes, I've gotten away from an actual practice of writing or, doing a gratitude list, but that's not the only thing that's going to carry me through my recovery. I have to make sure I'm doing all the other stuff too.
Absolutely. I think the thing that I got from this discussion today is, if I had a cheat code to having a better recovered life, which is what I did this really show for. I did the show because look, there's one thing to be sober, right? And you find this a lot online. It's like, I'm sober, I'm not drinking, right? And then there's another thing to be happy and sober. And then there's another thing to have really your best recovered life, really reach the potential that, that your higher power can enable you to reach. And I think the thing that I got out of this, which was interesting, is listening to this TikTok video and the Dr. Michael Beckwith video, is that by by doubling down and entering as part of my spiritual practice every week, this idea of I'm grateful, I'm going to look at things being grateful. Things are coming in and out of my life. I don't have to hold on to them so tight,
Right.
Because that is a lot of it, because you know how it is, Sean. Like, you get stuff in recovery and then
Mhm.
you're like, well, I got to keep it, like, but sometimes things leave in recovery so you can get
Yes.
better things, honestly, right? Or
Mhm.
different things.
Make
And
room in your life. I
make
mean, it's
room,
like
but we don't want to
decluttering
do
a
that.
yeah.
The thing
We
that the
don't wanna do
principles that
that
get us
'cause
sober, we don't really want to use to get to the next level of our recovery, right? And that's really what I got out of this, is like, how can I practice recovery, especially towards the end of the year? Everybody's giving gifts, and I always find that, like, sometimes in my family, everybody takes the same, $50-$100 and exchanges gift cards back and forth.
Yes, well, we're doing something similar this year, but everybody had to make a wish list so that people could actually buy something as opposed to gift cards. And I stopped that, Damon, more than a few years ago. It was about probably 18 or 19 years ago when it got to that point where we were just giving gift cards back and forth. I said, no gifts between the adults then. Like, this is ridiculous. We don't need to do that. But I love what you're saying, about that and how to show gratitude for others during this time, not just because we're in a receiving mode, because we could be receiving things, but how do we show gratitude to others? How do we show up and show gratitude? For me, like, people that refer to me or I refer to, and that I'm grateful that I work with them. How can I demonstrate some gratitude that's not just a gift card and a note, right? Like, maybe it is actually a handwritten note in one of my jams, or maybe I'll bake some of my infamous shortbread and give those as something, as opposed to just, corporate gifts. But how can I really demonstrate? You've given me something to think about. How can I really demonstrate during this time my gratitude for others?
Yeah, and that's really what this is about, right? And as we go into December, I will tell you, things get tougher emotionally in December. I think
Mhm.
it's the weather. We were just talking before we go on.
Yeah.
Family stuff tends to emerge during this period of time, and
Oh,
all
yeah.
this stuff starts to happen. And so, like, I know for me, and recovery this week, we did it primarily to talk about our own recovery, like what was going on with us, you
Yeah.
know. And because I find by being honest and telling what's happening with me, other people can relate to it,
Right.
and that's really what the recovery this week is about.
Mhm.
That's why I want to do this version of a show for Recovered Life TV. Shauna, this has been fun. I'm going to do a shameless plug here, guys. Check out Shauna in Return to Joy Recovery, her website. If you have family members that need help, I want to send you to Shauna McKenna Vick, Return to Joy Recovery. She's an amazing coordinator and really a great human being. And I love having you in my life. I am grateful, Shauna, that you're in my life, that
Oh,
we found
Damon,
each other,
I'm
in
so
this sober
grateful we
life.
found each other and we've stuck with each other, right? Like,
We
we've tried
have.
different versions of this, or doing different types of, working together on Recovered Life. And it's such an iterative process. You're growing this, and I'm so grateful that I'm alongside for that. And and thank you for the shameless plug. It's been really busy, and I work either as a consultant or as a, helping families plan treatment or interventions. And so that it's so customized depending on what each family needs. But I am, I'm busier than ever. A lot of people need help. And I am grateful that I can help them navigate that way, the way to get that help.
Well, you are doing a great job. And guys, if you want to talk about practicing gratitude, more tips, I'm doing pretty much every day at 5:00, and also sometimes in the morning too, but I'm not as good with the schedule. Check us out on TikTok at Recovered Life. And, Sean, it's been amazing. Over the last couple of days alone, we had mothers come in who had kids. They're like, are they alcoholics or are they not? And of course I can't tell
Right.
them that, right? Like,
No, we can't.
that's an individual thing, but tips about like how people that are helping somebody in recovery need to put on their own oxygen mask
Hmm.
first, whether
Hmm.
that's Al-Anon, counseling, whatever that might be, looking at their own stuff about how this addiction pattern keeps showing up. We had a woman yesterday who made a decision to go into treatment on Friday. She's going to talk to the
That's
doctors and
beautiful.
all this other stuff. And it's great. And The one thing I will say is that if you're in recovery and you're listening and you've been listening to the Recovered Life Show, and I know people do because I see them download it, I see them download the episodes. If you're listening and you're not turned on, you know, in your recovery, that you're still excited that when people get sober, tune into the TikToks, you know, tune into more of these shows. You are going to get there, because if you love transformation, you're going to love being sober.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to tune in too. That's 8 p.m. Eastern time, right? Because it's
8 p.m. Eastern. I try to go on a little early. We take live, you know, it's not live calls, but we take live stuff. And, you know, we talk real stuff about, you know, what people are struggling with. You know, pretty much every afternoon we talk about, you know, how to get unstuck, which is kind of my jam. You know, because I've done a lot of accountability coaching. How do you get unstuck? You know, how do you get unstuck? You know, and people are stuck trying to get sober, and they're also stuck in their sobriety trying to change their life.
Right. To have the best life.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what this is about.
Being sober is not just existing, it's thriving. It's not just surviving. You want to thrive in this life, and you could be stuck. And we have done so many shows on helping ideas for how to get unstuck. So I'm excited to start coming on to the TikToks. I might be in my pajamas, you know, I go to bed pretty early, but I look forward to it. Damon, thanks for another great
seeing
show.
You guys. Go out, be grateful today. Everybody, find us on TikTok, find us on YouTube. Share and like this if you can. It really helps the algorithm. Guys, go out and live your best recovered life. See ya.
Bye.
Hey, if you like this episode, think about supporting us by becoming a Recovered Life Plus member. At Recovered Life TV, we're not just delivering premium recovery resources, we're empowering you with the knowledge and tools that make a real difference in the quality of your recovery. By subscribing, you gain access to ad-free content, expert insights, exclusive video and audio segments, special projects, plus so much more, all while supporting our mission to spread the recovery message far and wide. Whether you're seeking to deepen your understanding or stay updated on the latest addiction and mental health recovery trends, Recovered Life Plus is for you. Subscribe now and start living your best recovered life. Just go to recoveredlife.tv and become a Plus member today.